It's been more than half a century since the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. People that actually knew him personally are few and far between these days, but you can find some who are still around. Individuals like Tom Houck.
People get ready, there's a train a-coming, picking up passengers from coast to coast. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. Don't need no baggage, you just get on board.
It's working. Well, this is the tour.
Tom Houck is on the move. At 75 years old, he offers civil rights bus tours to the public in Metro Atlanta. He's not behind the wheel, but at the mic, dropping nuggets of knowledge about legendary landmarks. In 1966, Houck was behind the wheel, serving as the personal driver of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the King family.
Being with him and driving 9 months for he and Mrs. King was the greatest thrill of my lifetime.
Houck was also, at the time, the youngest member of the executive staff of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, where he worked on the Poor People's Campaign, along with initiatives to end the war in Vietnam. But as Dr. King's driver and personal assistant, Houck was in an enviable position.
The white folks were the most hassle to you, absolutely, but of course some of the brothers would be a hassle to you as well. So you had to be able to work it out, between that situation, particularly when I became Dr. King's driver, because a lot of jealousy incurred, and so it was, that's Coretta's boy.
From the time he was 6 years old, Houck, who is Irish and hails from Boston, said he was compelled to fight against human injustice. And that injustice was no more apparent than in the oppressive Jim Crow laws targeting Black Americans, particularly in the South. In his late teens, he would launch into action by traveling to Alabama to participate in the historic Selma Montgomery March. That was followed by numerous protest marches and nonviolent acts of civil disobedience. It was during these moments Houck found that being a white civil rights activist put him in a precarious position.
When I was arrested in the civil rights movement, they didn't put me on the brothers' side. They put me in there with the Klan and the poor white folks and all this. I mean, it was hell. My own moment was in jail in Birmingham, Alabama, and I got slit by a guy with a knife, got 17 stitches in my knee. But because of that, Hosea Williams and I filed a suit.
That lawsuit would eventually lead the Supreme Court to rule in favor of integrating prisons. His closeness to King gave Houck unique insight into both the activist as well as the man.
I was around him after he won the Nobel Peace Prize and after he led the March on Washington and after Selma.
He recalls last seeing Dr. King just days before his death.
Dr. King was in Memphis with the sanitation workers. I was helping organize low-income whites. I was in Hispanics for a sort of a rainbow coalition that we were going to bring to Washington for the Poor People's Campaign. Last time I saw him, Dr. King was in a kind of a depressed mood because a lot of things weren't coming to place.
2 days later, on April 4th, 1968, Dr. King would die in Memphis, Tennessee by an assassin's bullet.
Well, when I heard that news, of course, I tried to call the home. I had the home number. Coretta was getting ready to go to the airport to fly to Memphis. And by the time she got to the airport, she found out that he was dead. So she came back and went back to Memphis, however, to complete his march the next day. But I came back to Atlanta from Knoxville and helped organize a massive transportation effort of bringing people to town for the funeral. The funeral was April 9th.
After King's death, Houck continued to work on a number of social causes. In the early 1970s, he worked on the political campaigns of Atlanta activists Andrew Young, Maynard Jackson, and John Lewis, campaigns that would catapult each into long-running legislative careers. He would then spend nearly 30 years in media, hosting a long-running radio show and appearing on the Sunday morning political talk staple, Georgia Gang. Although time has slowed him down some, it hasn't dampened his determination to continually tell the story of the civil rights struggle. And with recent events like the murder of George Floyd and the banning of critical race theory in schools, Houck thinks that story is more important now than ever.
I think we have to fight that every day. And I think that the movement we saw during 2020 needs to stay alive and well and get to the streets if necessary. Because some people in this country, okay, want to take the country back before okay, the Civil War. The fight is actually coming back stronger than ever. It was a lull, but now it's beginning to move up again.
The work of Dr. King lives on, and thank you so much to Tom Houck for taking time to share that very powerful insight. Incredible.